final interview. And I was so stunned, I just react. Did you not send one after your first interview? No. Wow. You're moving from a B2B sale into a surgical sales position, dealing with the OR surgical team, the surgeon, the nurse director, the chief of that department, specialty, the materials management, make sure your product is going to be in the hospital, and the OR supervisors making sure that product is in the surgery. And you're not following through? And she goes, no, nobody told me I had to do this. And I said, I'll give you an example. I had a client interview 3 candidates. I met him after the interview in the hotel lobby. We're sitting there talking, and he goes, Pat, you done it again. I go, what? And he goes, I could hire all 3. I have my top 2, and I'm on the fence. So I said, well, let's just walk it through. And as he's talking, the person working behind the counter came over with a handwritten note and handed it to the VP. He read it and he goes, yep, that just made my decision. Sally was hired. And Sally became the Rookie of the Year. Sally then became, 11 years later, the national sales. Tell me what the value of a thank you letter is. If that doesn't show you the difference, if you cannot stand out, why are they hiring you? We're not looking for box to fill jobs. We're looking for people to come in who want to build, support, and grow and have opportunity. But I am going to hold myself accountable, and I'm going to take the extra step every time. Why? Because I want to earn it, I want to build it, and I want to grow. And everybody wants that employee, because you can't change. That's a behavior of this individual. You cannot change them. You can get them to artificially do it, but their bad habits will eventually bleed through, particularly if there's a pressure situation. Like, for example, Netta, you got on the call and there's something happened and you managed it, but how you managed it showed the maturity. It showed yourself, I can get this done. I'm responsible. I'm accountable. Any opportunity you have to show that is always awesome. It is always awesome because things never go as they're planned. But a thank you letter should have 3 components. You're thanking them for the time. 2, you're reiterating what they're looking for. 3rd, how do you fit that? And then your excitement and commitment to go to the next step. Because they're not looking for people who are just qualified. They want them educated on the opportunity so that when they go interview, you should see the homework we put in front of our candidate. They put together a business proposal for the first 90 days. We explain the training class dates, everything. We even get them to go out and talk to customers. We send them to a customer who doesn't like their product. And they get in there and they write a business plan on how they're going to deal with that customer. That is the person they want. Because what are you doing? You're solving a problem. You're following up. That manager, the VP, who I got to tell you was so tough to work with until I could prove the value that we could provide. And then he would never work with another recruiter. And everybody goes, why do you go after these tough managers? I say, because once I prove what our company can do, they're always challenging me. So that means I'm having to grow, I'm having to learn, and I have to get better and better. I want to work in that environment every day. By doing that, they're not going to work with any other recruiters. Why would they? They don't want to go through the paper shuffle. They know that we invest so much time in these candidates. We already have taken the counter offer off the table in our first interview. Once we identify them as a potential candidate, we walk through how they leave a company. Tell me how a person like you has left a company. What happened? They basically could take them up against the wall and shoot them. So everybody else will say, oh, I'm not going to look for a job right now because I don't want to deal with this.
So
Or the, yeah.
let's keep going. Let's keep going, Southern Belle, if that's okay with you.
I'm sorry.
No, I love that you are so passionate about this. I love it. But let's keep going. We have one of our audience members that has a question, Luke Mann, and we will be talking, and I would love to hear from Justin as well right after about our next red flag. Luke Mann, you're up. Go ahead. Ask your question or make your statement.
Oh yes, good day everyone. Yeah, so quick one. Just a quick question. How often should you reapply to the same company? That's my first question. And the other one is, should you meet all of the requirements before you apply, or you can just meet some of the requirements? Basically, those are the
Okay.
two questions I want
So
to ask.
the second question we'll answer it in the all the roles or more than.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
of
can I
course.
speak to that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so I have done this. Actually, I applied for a company in three different roles, all kind of similar in the marketing area. And yeah, the recruiter was like, "Hey, I've seen your name before in these in these different roles. Why are you applying to all of the roles?" So it was kind of not a good look, but I was interested in all of them. I had the skill in all of them. Um, it's just, yeah, it didn't work out. So just wanted to share that story. Thanks, Netta.
Thank you. You think that they don't look at your the jobs that you apply for, but they really do. All right, let's keep going. Um, Another red flag is, just give me a moment, please, is the overuse of AI. I have heard people that are overusing AI in their job search. They're overusing AI when it comes to the interview, down to reading a script. It sounds like they're reading a script off a teleprompter. And I'm sure a lot of recruiters and hiring managers are noticing because I've had some of them come to me anonymously and tell me this. Anyone want to talk about that? All right. So I was away for a minute or so. I'm sorry. But let's keep going. Another red flag. Oh, Josh grabbed the mic. Josh, let's hear from you. Go ahead. Welcome to the space. And then we'll go to Jessica.
Hey, thank you so much. I just wanted to add real quick in defense of the M dash, as it's called, the long dash. So if you're a writer and you're applying for a writing job and you know how to correctly use the M dash and you've been using it for decades, please use the M dash. But yeah, if you're not a writer and you're not applying for a writing job, then yeah, probably avoid it, because I've heard so many people say exactly that seeing that long dash means that it came from AI, and it hurts me as a writer because I'm like, like it's perfectly legitimate. You just have to like know when you should use it or not. So I say I agree with what Justin was saying. Like, if you're not a writer and you don't normally use the M dash in your writing, then you probably should avoid using it because it probably means you got it out of AI. But there is some context there. Like, if you actually are applying for a writing position, then using it appropriately, using tools of grammar appropriately is a good thing when you're applying for a job. So make sure you're using it in the right context, I guess.
Thank you, Josh. Sorry. Let's go to Phil. Sorry, Jessica.
Okay, no, my question was, did Justin answer Code with Bola's question where he said something about hiring multiple or applying multiple times? I thought Justin was going to speak to that, but I didn't know for sure. Okay, Code with Bola, can you please repeat the first question? I believe it was something about applying to um the same company multiple times. I believe that was the question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. How often should you apply to the same role multiple times?
Can I add one? Can I add one point?
Of course.
And I'll take out my southernness because we talk. Um, when you do that, sometimes you were initially submitted by a recruiter. And candidates have said this. I'm going to submit directly. That way they don't have to pay a recruiting fee and I'll be more interesting to the company. So that's kind of what they look at in HR because they have said that to me. One of your candidates submitted, and I said, yes, because the email from the manager was submit your resume because he didn't understand, he was a brand new manager, that HR was getting it at the same time so that we could have it in the system. So it looked like this candidate was going behind me and they wanted to make sure I knew about it. And once I explained it, because the candidate called me, he said, I'm really confused now because normally I've never done this working with you. The manager asked me to submit a resume. And I said, they just changed their process. I'll take care of it. So that candidate got right back to me. So it was a credibility issue was not there. It was confusion. But we have seen candidates try to go around recruiters after the resume is submitted, saying if I submit it, they don't have to pay a recruiting fee. I might look like a better candidate. So that's a credibility issue right there. And it may not be what they did. They thought they were doing good faith or whatever, but that's how it will be viewed in HR. Because what does HR care about, job father? The law. They
I'm good. I don't have anything to say, Justin. Thank you, though.
Yeah, my hand might be glitching because I don't know, spaces sometimes do that. I don't currently have my hand up, so thank you though.
Um, no, no. The reps and managers, MSLs, CMOs, which are doctors and stuff, they're very prim and proper about it. They use a Gmail account to conduct their interviews and moving back and forth. So with their name, they know that they would be kicked out if they did something like that. And we've had to go into younger people and say, they will check you out online. Just be prepared. So if there's anything that we shouldn't see, we need to know now so we can manage it. But most of our candidates are really good about that because medical with so much regulatory job father and HR laws because they're the ones that are big, so people want to go after them lawsuit wise. They're paranoid about following the rules. So candidates pick up on that really quick. So we don't really deal with it.
Has that actually happened to you? Like, oh my God. I can't believe this.
Also, too, I was helping a friend, his fiance in tech, and she reached out to me asking for help. And so we're talking, and I said, "How are you going to be doing the interview?" And I expected the answer. She said, "I'll be doing it on my laptop." And I said, "Okay, show me where you're going to be sitting in your apartment." And she hadn't even thought about it. And she went over there. I said, "It's too cluttered. You need to have a desk that's professional looking, and even if it's just a blank wall, you don't want anything that's going to distract them. You want the focus just to be on you, and you need to look hyper organized, particularly when your position is going to be hybrid. You're going to be working from home a few days and then in the office a few days. So I researched the company, and they tend to wear sport jackets there, the manager. So I said, "Do you have like a navy blazer?" And she said, "Yeah." "Do I need to go that far?" I said, "You can always overdress. Underdress is always going to be a flag." And sure enough, when we walked through how to interview, I spent a couple hours with her, and then we did a role play the next day, and she got the opportunity. And part of it was because she was so highly organized. Because I walked through the job description, and I said, "You need to be able to pop in little examples because they're not used to having a hybrid employee. So you're going to be one of the first. So you need to show that you're a step above on everything because they're looking for a way to say no to you." And we walked it through. And sure enough, when she shows up on her first day in her navy blazer, all the leadership was wearing it. And they would put them on their desk chairs or whatever. But the minute they walked in meetings, they'd pop it on because it was the culture of the company, even though it was software. But you have to use this opportunity to look like you're doing the job in a professional place in your home. They need to see that you have a designated place that you're focused on your career. This is something I don't deal with in my industry, but it really struck me how that wasn't even a thought process. How do you look working from home? And I think that's important.
Very true. That's a part of being able to keep the job. I've seen people who work from home because some companies, as you said, have a hybrid work model. And, you know, what they see during the interview process is probably what they see when they hire you. So some people, pure chaos in the background. For some people, not organized. Your space, your physical space, says a lot about the space in your head. I think that all the recruiters in the room will probably agree with me on that. What do you think? Yes, Jessica? And then we'll go to Justin.
Okay, so I had an interview I keep talking about it because it's the only interview I've had in like 7 years. So in this interview, I ended up being like going to the fourth round, but on the fourth interview was like with the president of the company, and I was sitting in their TSA, not TSA, TST office, and he was at a different location, and he was like, "Are you in our office?" And I was like, yes, they let me do the interview in your working room, right?" And then he looked, and it took him a moment, and he said, "Okay, okay, let's continue." So I just wanted to say that because prior to that, I was doing the interviews in my home office, and my home office was a bit of disarray. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to share that. Thanks, Netta.
Thank you very much, Jessica. Let's go to Justin. $1 hour and 11 minutes, because after that, it's the hunt. It's in the Jumbotron, everyone, for anyone wondering. Well said. Thank you. And I agree with you, especially with in-person interviews coming back more and more, and I think that trend will be on the rise. First impressions start the moment they speak to you on the phone, and that first impression will continue up until, because a hiring manager or a company, it costs them a lot of money to hire someone. From the moment they put out the job, they are missing staff. 2, it's a risk, because if they hire the wrong person, that speaks badly on their reputation. And 3, there's money spent on training, there's money spent on so many different factors that we, like, as a candidate, you need to be aware that it's not just you applying, but you need to be aware of these realities as well. So bring your best foot forward. And that kind of connects to our next red flag, which people pick up on your vibes, right? And it's a great thing to be confident, but not in a cocky way, right? I would like to hear from the recruiters in the room. Please go ahead. There's a balance that needs to be struck between confidence and, when I mean cocky, it's like, I'm sorry to use this word, but a douche. Like, what? It's too much. And I'm sure you faced that, Justin. Someone who is so cocky, it's like borderline condescending. They make you, they feel this, they give off this vibe of superiority. I'm a big no.
I love you, job father, but that doesn't work in my industry. You have to be confident because you have the skill sets, experience, specialty knowledge like cardiac or oncology, ortho's fine, because they view themselves interviewing at the C-suite or second line management as if you're calling on a surgeon. And I just want to go back to a point that was made. The minute you get out of your car in a parking lot to walk into a building, you're in my world, a hospital. Everybody matters. And how you treat everyone. And by the way, they have been educated over time that they're part of the communication on the value of this candidate when they do their get together with HR and have a conversation. They are involved in that discussion because they look at them as the person sitting at the customer service desk or the sanitation engineer who's cleaning the floors. Why do we love that guy? Because if we come in at noon and we've got to get into a surgery, there are no clean gowns and scrubs. So that person hops on the service elevator, gets it. So by the time you got your clothes off, they're throwing you a pair of scrubs so you can get into a surgery. Everybody matters. Everybody matters. And that's the way medical is. Everybody in that hospital matters and they're treated well by the employers. They all matter. You have to have confidence, but it's the quality of your questions that show the experience level you have or the depth of the experience you have. Because what are you trying to do? You're trying to get them to buy into you that you can close the surgeon, that you can build this business, that you can go talk to a CEO on the carpet side. You can deal with clinical buy-in for clinical efficacy with a surgeon or a nurse director where it's an in-servicing type sell. You have to engage at that level because you're dealing with influencers in the process, decision maker in the process, and you're dealing with the users in the process. Everybody touches that product or service that's involved with that patient. And if you don't have a buy-in with all of them or enough to get it moved forward, where one of the chief says, I can get my surgeons to go along with it, but you know who our problem is? Spend time with him. And for him, it was, I'll go along to get along. That's his biggest endorsement he'll ever give. But knowing that is a factor. But you have to engage and build those relationships. And when you're dealing with a complex cell, what you talk to each one about it is done in a very different way. So you have to show that you can accommodate and be flexible and understand who you're speaking with. So that's why in corporate interviews in my world, they want you interviewing with somebody in the training department, a couple in the C-suite, a couple second line managers, deal with HR, and then people in product, people in marketing, because they're going to see how you respond and engage with them. That shows that you can navigate the sales process because we're in a complex sale. It means more than one decision maker in the process. But you have to have that confidence, and you have to get where it's almost charismatic. You draw attention to yourself, but you're very much roll up your sleeves to work and earn your right to work with the surgeons, because the surgeons watch how you treat their surgical team. They're the captain of that team. They're only as good as their team. And they're very protective of their team. And they live in a world where companies that have bought these hospital systems stamp it on their brain. We do not manage risk, so don't do anything in that surgery. It's going to hold us liable. They have a lot of stress. They have more stress now than ever. So you have to be someone that's going to get in and build and learn how to speak with them in order to how to educate them to change behavior. And I'll land my plane.
Thank you very much, Sandra Bell. That connects perfectly well with the topic that we talked about a little bit earlier, about risk. Companies take a risk when hiring a candidate, and you want to de-risk yourself, thus the red flags. So to anyone that joined us, thank you very much for your time. Thank you. We hope that you're enjoying the space. This space is being hosted in the Unfeathered community, so please give us a follow. Join the community. So at the top right next to the record indicator, there's the link for Unfeathered. We host this space called the Career Files, my co-founder and I, and we also have our lovely co-host Jessica, who joins us every week. And the past few weeks, we've also had Sandra Bell, so I want to make sure that we also give her flowers as well. Thank you for your time and for the value that you add. But this space is meant for you, right? It's not just us bouncing ideas and just like stating facts. If you have questions about red flags, what is a red flag? Or, if you have something to contribute as a red flag, come up. We're not going to judge. This is a safe space. We host the space every Saturday, either at 11:30 a.m. Eastern or 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that's that. The other thing I wanted to say is tomorrow, Justin and I have a video live stream. I will put the link, I'll put the information in the Jumbotron and in the comments. Justin, can you talk about it? And then we're going to go to our next red flag. Thank you. And if you're here and you're enjoying the convo, share out the space. Thank you. Yes. We talked about making first impressions, and thank you for sharing the information about the live stream tomorrow. So we talked about first impressions. We talked about, being memorable, but sometimes your body does, actually it's a fact, your body does most of the talking. And those first impressions say a lot. So body language is our next red flag. Moving around a lot, fidgeting. People notice that. So I would say before interviewing, or even when you do your mock interview with someone, ask them to take a look and examine your body language and have them provide you some feedback. To the recruiters in the room, anything bad on that topic? Yes. So thank you, Justin. And that kind of reminds me, I need to stand up. Ouch. So I have a back condition, and I mean, I need to sometimes, move a bit because of that. I let the interviewer know that, of the reason why. So it's better to be honest and let them know so they have some context than, because as Justin said, listen, let's be honest, recruiters are biased. They're human. They judge because they have to. They need to make a decision. Thus, the pressure, they have a lot at stake, right? Their reputation, their job. They can't present a bad candidate. So once again, providing context will help you de-risk yourself as a candidate. All right, our next point. I can't believe I am talking about this, but body odor. There are people that unfortunately smell so bad that you just want to run away. And there are people that it smelled like they took a shower under their cologne or perfume bottle. To the recruiters in the room, any experience with that?
Yes. Also, some other things. If you're in sales and you're doing a phone interview where it's not face to face on the computer or phone, it's okay to stand up and walk a little because sales reps have energy. And for your interview, take a walk and then get on the phone because you live in a walking world. Also, women. We saw this with one of my major pharmas when this first started happening. The slits on the front of skirts, not just in the back. The male managers were embarrassed to interview because you're trying not to look. And so women need to be accountable, looking professional and not making a male counterpart feel uncomfortable. Also, jewelry. And if you have long hair, move it, get it up, or do something with it. You want to cut all distractions. And some women like to wear a lot of makeup. And I have to have this conversation. I said, I need to know that you can flip into a locker room and throw on scrubs and pull your hair up in a ponytail, and we're not going to have a makeup meltdown. And that's just part of it. Those are things we've learned so that we can keep managers looking at them as a candidate and not making judgment calls about them. But we like energy on the calls. I walk a lot when I'm on the phone talking because it helps my energy level, particularly late in the day. And it just gets my energy level back up because every call is important. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. Go ahead, Justin. The candidates that have a shawarma or tzatziki right before the interview. They smell like garlic.
I'm sorry, I forgot to add, we asked them not to wear cologne or anything because it's a distraction in the hospital. We asked them, in a sense, dress like they're going to go to the hospital in a suit and get into scrubs. And they get that. We tell them that. They don't like smells in surgery. They already have enough.
And some people have medical conditions. They get a headache when they smell perfume. So I'd say better be safe. Smell Irish Spring Fresh, just like Justin said. And because if the person has a headache while interviewing you, believe me, I don't think that will leave a good first impression. Okay, I think we have a new speaker, do we? And no, we don't. Okay, let's keep going. We have another 50 minutes approximately. Follow-up emails. Let's go to that. People who don't, we talked about thank you emails, but we have people that don't follow up, or they take their sweet time to respond to a recruiter's email. That could delay the hiring process, but I want to know the impact and the impressions that you leave with a recruiter. Then we'll go to Himanshu. Oh, I didn't see them. I didn't see Phil's hand, but yes, let's go to Phil. Sorry, Phil, I didn't see your hand.
Oh, actually, I had a little bit to say about the fragrance thing, but I was a little too late, so you could skip me. I'll chime in on the next thing. I don't want to delay the discussion. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Justin, let's talk about our next point, and then, which I mentioned earlier, and then we'll go to Himanshu.
Also, just to add to that, because we went through that earlier, they're also looking at how you write. Because in my industry, I deal with what I call the high I's. Because it's what they do. I. They'll send me 7 sentences starting with I. And I do it purposely to let them do it. And then I go, let's look at this letter that you're sending as a follow-up. What catches your attention? And all of a sudden they go, oh my God, because they can't help themselves, because as a sales rep, I am responsible for this. So they speak from an I perspective. If you look at DISC for a simple assessment test, they're a high I, and that's what we want. So we have to work with them a little bit to re-engineer, because we're not going to write it for them. And we found out that HR collects every one of them. Every one of them will be in a file because they're emailed. And then if you have an opportunity to do a handwritten note, be prepared to have like the little fold over card, maybe with your initials on the front and some kind of calligraphy. And then think about what you would write and write it out. And then when you get there after the interview, tie something from the interview in where you thank them for their time, to what they regurgitate what they're looking for in a candidate, and then how do you match up with it, then show your enthusiasm and interest, because it's like dating. They don't want to pick you and find out you don't want to go to the next step. So take that little agony away. because now they got to go tell a manager above them on a subjective decision process. But it's also an opportunity to see how you do written communication. And that's a skill set that they have been starting to pay more attention to, just FYI.
Thank you, Southern Belle. All right, let's go to our next point. Our next point is the following. I'm sorry, I'm rolling my eyes when I see this, but overuse of AI. Oh, actually we were supposed to go to Himanshu, but we'll also go to Phil right after, and then we'll go to the next red flag. To anyone who's here, we appreciate you. Thank you for joining. Join the Unfeathered community at the top right, or you can check the community in my spotlight. We host the space every Saturday. All right, Himanshu, then we'll go to Phil, then the next red flag.
Hello, Nida. How have you been? So, like, I've been joining the space and I missed the last space due to some work that I had with. So, how you guys have been?
Good. Thank you for asking. Glad to see you with us.
Okay. So, like, there are 2 points that I need to ask. So, one of them is like, what are the key features recruiters want to see other than the skills in the upcoming employees, and also what are the edge factors they should have?
Okay. Justin, go ahead. Justin, I did see you on mute. Please go. Please speak if you like. Okay. So the thing I'll say, Himanshu, is that right now we are talking about red flags that recruiters look for. So these questions are better suitable for the hunt. If you don't mind, we are hosting that space. I'm hosting that space in less than a little bit over 40 minutes from now. So hang on tight. We're going to get to your questions. Please go there and request the link. But this is more, we want to stay on topic. Okay. We have Phil, and I also want to hear from Mehul right after. Phil, you're next. Oh, Justin, I see you unmuted. Do you want to say something? Then we'll go to Phil. Oh, I spoke to him. Okay, let's go to Phil.
Thanks, Netta. Thanks. Yeah. So, um, I wanted to ask a question about like a desperation piece. So, I'm sort of like between jobs for the first time in over a decade, and so I'm not sure I'm navigating things 100% correctly. So, but like the other day, there's these recruiters I've been working with on various jobs, and uh, yesterday, because it was Friday, I just wanted to make sure I was following up with everybody before the weekend. So I just kind of like cold called all of them, and wasn't I didn't walk away from it thinking it was entirely like good luck. It might have come across as desperate. I was just sort of I used to be like a project manager in various software implementations and stuff. So to me, I'm just like I have sort of action items or story points, and I'm just like following up on those. Sort of that's sort of how I was thinking about it, but it might have I don't know rubbed them the wrong way. Like if I'm contacting them too much, it just kind of one of Justin's points earlier made me think of it. I don't know. I guess just want to get the opinions of the recruiters in the room and see what you think.
Can you ask that like in 15 or 20 seconds more concise? Like, what's
I'll
the
say
main
it.
question?
How
Yeah,
do you
sure.
strike? How do you strike a balance? Hey, Heather, I see you. Thank you for being here. When you want to contact a recruiter, how do you strike a balance in your number of outreach attempts to not sound desperate, or because that's a red flag?
That's a great question. So I have a post about it. I'll go and find it from LinkedIn and post it in the Jumbotron. But basically, you should not reach out. So do your initial thank you note immediately, but you shouldn't contact them again at least for 7 days. Like, or if they said, hey, today is Monday, you'll hear from me by Wednesday. If you don't hear from them by Wednesday, email them on Friday, right? But you typically want to wait 7 days between each reach out. That's just a safe space, because you have to remember recruiters have daily jobs to do. A lot of times, especially if we have 10 to 15 roles that we're working on, our day is filled with interviews, and our morning is filled with meetings. We got to recap, follow up with hiring managers. The only emails we're worried about is making sure the active pipeline is getting moved along and scheduled for that day. Then by probably 10:30, 11, we're in meetings or interviews, right? We're in interview 11 till 3 or 4. After that, that 4 to 5, we have to do the last minute administrative stuff from the people we really need to move forward and get in front of, or reach out to the hiring managers who still hasn't reached back out to us. And then we're going home. And at night, we may look through our different platforms to do sourcing, and then we start the cycle all over again. So my whole point is email every 7 days. The way that you can stay engaged and at the top of their mind without being too annoying is on LinkedIn. If they're recruiters, usually they're active. If they post something, like it. Make a thoughtful comment. Don't just say, oh, that's great. Make a thoughtful comment if you have something to contribute. If you don't, just like it. They will see the notification. They will see your name. It's a mental ping for them to get back to you if you're a strong fit. If you don't hear anything, if you're not a strong fit, sometimes they do just leave you to the side because they're too busy. And don't take it personal. It's business. All right. If you're not the top kid or the top candidate, I may not get back to you right away. I may make a mental note to do so, but I may forget it. Because when you're that top candidate that we need to get pushed through the pipeline, I guarantee you're going to hear back. I hope that answers.
Yeah. What we do in our office is we tell candidates that obviously you're going to be looking for feedback, et cetera, et cetera. The quickest way to get a hold of us is through email versus phone, because you've been in our office, you see we're constantly on the phone. But if you want a quicker answer, just email us. But obviously we're going to get back to you and let you know what your status is. So sometimes that kind of helps manage it from the business side of it, can help. But I like the 7-day rule. I think that's a fair gap of time where you can. There's also a way you can use it to your advantage. Let's say that you came out number 2 in the process. That becomes an opportunity where you can do a feedback call. I really respected meeting you. I would like to know how I can improve. I understand you've selected a candidate. Congratulations. I'd like to learn something from this, because I definitely am very excited about your company. But what else can I be doing to be better prepared as a candidate? What's going to happen is this manager has seen you as a viable candidate. You have followed up in a very mature fashion to find out what is the result, and you found out somebody got hired. That's an opportunity to get a feedback loop that you can utilize and say, if you come across something you think that would be a great fit for me, I look forward to hearing from you. And I know you have associates in other companies. Keep me in mind, because I'm very committed to come into this type position and be here long term. Now, internal referrals are gold inside of a company. Now you have a hiring manager who's really respects you now and sees a mature person who wasn't as qualified as the other candidate, but you were still a great candidate. And that's just another way to kind of keep you in the hopper for future opportunities. I'll land my plane.
All right. Thank you very much, Southern Belle. Let's now go to Mehul. You are our next speaker. Thank you very much for requesting the mic. Please introduce yourself and thank you for joining us today. I think I was on mute for a second.
Thanks for having me. I'm Mehul. I work at a startup called Yodec. I'm a full stack developer and a open source contributor at Ember.js. The first thing, I did not requested a mic control. I don't know how I have the speaker thing.
Well,
I've never
you're up
recruited.
here. I'm glad to have you here with us. Feel free to speak
Yeah.
at any time. But thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I have a red flag, which is my personal experience. So I applied for a role. I waited for that opportunity for a year at that startup. And I messed up with the recruiter about explaining about my notice period. So all I wanted to say was my notice period is 1 week, and if it's a very immediate position, I can ask the founders to waive it off, and they will be happy to do it. But I didn't present it well, so that was a red flag. And later I got a feedback from the person who referred me that the recruiter was not convinced with. Uh, so basically, the recruiter was not sure about the process and how they can hire me. So we should be clear about explaining these things to recruiter on initial call.
Thank you very much, Mehul. Justin, anything to add?
Trying to get it kicked me out the system. I had to come back in. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't hear the question.
No problem. So Justin shared a post with me. I am also multitasking. I am preparing our space for next week while hosting this one. But Justin just shared a post that he made, or should I say an article he wrote, to answer Phil's question about how to follow up after an interview. So let me post that link for you all in the comments. And I hope that, that will help our audience and add some value. There we go. So just a little preview of our space next week. Next week is going to be interactive. All right. We're going to be having our audience, you come up and practice your pitch, because it's also relevant to today's space. I think the last thing a recruiter wants to hear is a terrible intro, an intro that is not relevant to the job, and an intro, and I think many of us are doing ourselves a disservice that doesn't do justice to our experience. So our next space is going to be on about tell me about yourself. Come up and practice your pitch. So Justin, once again, is a recruiter with 15 years of experience. And I also hope Southern Belle will be with us. She brings 45 years of experience. And Heather, I would be honored to have you in our panel as well. Heather is a technical recruiter as well, and a speaker at conferences as well. Very proud of your journey. So I'm going to be scheduling out this space for next week. Justin, would you like the space next week to be the same time, 11:30 a.m.? Sorry, sometimes we make these decisions. Perfect. 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Western Africa time, everyone. Okay, let's keep the show going. Candidates who are too agreeable and lack an original point of view. The yes sir, yes ma'am people. Let's hear from the recruiters in the room on that. We want to come off from a candidate's perspective. We want to come off as the perfect candidates. That is about the next two red flags that we have. But at what cost? We can't always agree on everything, and we lack originality. So let's go on. Let's talk about this one. Being too agreeable and lacking originality and an original point of view. So I think that when we are interviewing for a role, we need to provide our perspectives, but everything comes at a cost. If we say yes, yes, yes to everything, that could come off as desperate. And I talked about AI earlier. I think that we want to come off as perfect, so perfect that it looks like we're reading off a teleprompter, or it looks like our answers are too rehearsed. And I think that many of us, in an attempt to be the perfect candidates, we're shooting ourselves in the feet, because I think that a hiring manager knows that the candidate isn't perfect. So I would like the people interviewing here to embrace their imperfections, leverage your strengths, obviously, but don't try to be too perfect, because people will notice that. Any points on that, people, to our audience?
And like Netta said, you really, really want to be genuine to who you are. Because guess what? If you're faking who you are in that interview just to appease somebody, you're going to be miserable when you get that job, because it's not a great cultural fit. Cultural fit is a big thing. Be yourself, right? Now, I'm not saying just be outlandish. If that's, be your professional self is what I mean when I say that, to be clear. But you have to be yourself. You have to push back. You have to ask questions. A prime example, and this is something I did while I was working internally for a job as an employee, but you can use this for your interviewing as well. When it came to my quarterly reviews and the KPIs that I was being tracked on, my employer put a lot of weight on a category that had absolutely everything to do with the team success and not my individual success. And I was not comfortable with that affecting my bonus. They had it at 35% of the overall score. So when they asked me, hey, are you okay with this? I said, no, I'm not. And I gave pushback. I gave, data driven answers as to why it wouldn't be fair, and all the outliers that were not specific to me. And guess what? I got what I wanted. Same thing can be true in an interview. If you're interviewing for a manager position, but they're trying to layer it on as a director level responsibilities, give pushback, not in a negative way, but make sure you make them understand that you understand the role that they're speaking to you about, that you actually do this for a living. So I hope that helps a little bit. I'll land my plane there.
I love the points that you made. A few spaces ago, you talked about how you hired a candidate. No, how one of your clients got a job. Can you talk about that again? Because they showed their value to the hiring manager. Remember, Justin?
Hello?
I don't
Yes.
know if you're having some technical difficulties.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so
Yes.
I'm live streaming. I have to unmute on
Yes.
both platforms every time. So give me about a 5 or 6 second delay. Sorry about that. Okay, so the situation you're talking about is I had a client who was trying to make a decision between two final candidates. Both candidates had made it to the final round and interviewed with him. He was the CEO of the company, right? This was a VP level role, a director level role. Sorry about that. Both candidates were equal in qualifications, equal in years of experience, equal in great cultural fit. The deciding factor was, in the final interview, and typically I have to say this, we always pan out the salary at the beginning of the conversation. Okay. Always do that. This hiring manager or this CEO just wanted to bring it up again, but it ended up being a decision maker. So he said, "Hey guys, and separately in each of the interviews, I only, if we decide to move forward with an offer, the maximum I can offer is 150,000. Candidate A said, "Hey, fine. Actually, I could take 135 if it can save the department and the company money. I just want to show you, it's not just about the money for me." Candidate B said, "Well, I definitely understand that. But as discussed at the beginning of the process with the recruiter, I would not be able to accept less than 175 for the role and the additional things that you've added on top of the posted job description." And he walked through the things that were added that were not in the job description, but that were discussed in the conversation with the CEO. He added the information and data points as to why he would require 175. And the CEO came to me and said, "Hey, he made the offer for the 175 because he wanted somebody who was effectively able to communicate their worth under pressure with being the underdog and come out on top." And that person did so at that director level role. It showed that director would stand up for himself and his team in meetings when the other executives weren't around or when hard decisions needed to be made. And he's not afraid to walk away from something if it's not worth the value. And that was something else. That was a soft skill the CEO didn't even know he was looking for. But when it presented itself, he wanted it and he got it.
I love it. All right. I would absolutely love to hear from the other recruiters and from our audience. If you have any questions to ask the recruiters in the room, please don't be shy. We're here to kind of help. We're talking about topics that aren't really talked about normally, thus the title, The Career Files. Also, Jessica, welcome back. So the next topic we're going to talk about that is another red flag is overusing buzzwords. Talking in acronyms. I'm sure you've run into your fair share of candidates that talk in acronym language. Like KPI, ROI, ARR, MRR. And that's their entire sentence. Anything to add on that? Unfortunately, it's true. I'm sure recruiters run into that. And I'm sure the recruiter doesn't know all the acronyms that you have in your industry.
Listen, first, yes, you're absolutely correct. But often recruiters and the interviewers themselves overuse the acronyms, right? So I think that there's nothing wrong with using industry specific acronyms because it shows that you know what you're talking about. But however, as we mentioned earlier, you need to give some metrics and some achievements behind that. Don't just tell me KPI with saying, well, what KPIs? If you're going to say KPI, you say using KPI metrics like time to fill, offer to acceptance ratio, whatever KPIs are specific to your industry. But it's nothing wrong with using acronyms as long as they're also supported with quantifiable metrics and achievements. Southern Bell, I want to hear your take on that. Would you agree? Is that the same in your industry? Or
Yeah,
Heather,
we have
I see
key
you down there as
opinion
well.
leaders, absolutely KOLs, but we also have quotas because everything's quantifiable in sales management, even in clinical support, that is quantifiable, their success. But yes, they talk about it, but they also talk about how they got the business, how they're keeping the business, how they were able to win the business back, and then how they had to go head to head. Let's say capital equipment in a hospital, they had to go head to head to compete, and they're looking for the features and benefits and all the way through clinical process, how they differentiate from the competitor, not just badmouth the competitor. In other words, stand up for the product, the service, and the quality. Uh, but in an interview, in my world, it's about qualifying. Can this person work in a situation where we've lost the business? Can they earn the business back? How do they keep the business? And in that conversation, Job Father, we're also finding out what percentage of their business is new business and what is established business. And that's something we separate very quickly as a headhunter because we're looking for people that know how to build. But yes, we have metrics we work with, but there's also the heart behind it and how you engage and build a relationship. So we're looking for both.
Got you. So Southern Belle, I appreciate that. So let me be a little bit more specific. You as a recruiter, if you're interviewing somebody and they're throwing out all these, you know, acronyms, are you looking for them to also back it up, or are you okay with them just throwing out the
No,
acronyms and
no,
kind
no,
of
no, no. We want it done within the conversation of an actual sales process. We qualify, we give them qualifying questions and how they manage it and how they can, like I always say this, if you know what you're doing, you can say it very, very simply. If you spend 20 minutes winding out with acronyms and saying it, you know about it, you don't know how to do it. And you don't have a history of showing that performance because you can't talk about it in a simple way. You get to the point. So that's assessment tool for us.
as Sean Charles would say, boom. We want to know that you've done these things in practice and not just in theory. The same reason as why we don't care about what's in your skill section. We want to see it integrated into your resume, into bullet points of your experience tied to quantifiable metrics and achievements and the tools that you used. All right. That is key, utmost importance. I know that's not just a red flag, but that is just a powerful gem that you need to know if you're a job seeker. Okay. Don't just list the words. Everybody does that. That's another red flag with the overuse of AI without any nuts and bolts of how you did it. Land my plane there. Sorry, I got on my soapbox, but that is just the number one thing. If you want to review your own resume, start there. Okay. What quantifiable metrics do you have? What do you list the tools that's listed in your technical skills? Do you use those tools? Do you list those tools and systems and skill sets in your experience section? Start there. And that'll help you 90% of the way.
Preach, 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 preach.
I'm sure the recruiters in the room are giggling behind their mics. I sure am, and I'm not a recruiter. So many cringeworthy red flags that I'm sure you've all seen as a recruiter, and we're kind of dissecting those today. Another one is, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm sure our recruiters in the room have talked to candidates that take 5 minutes to answer a question, and then they get lost in their answer, and at the end they're like, sorry, what was the question again? Ever been through that?
Oh,
that
God.
really reflects poorly on a candidate, because especially if you're a role that involves communication, being able to communicate concisely is so important. I believe that's important no matter, that's a life skill. Like,
Yes.
we have very poor attention spans these days. And
Listen.
attention is the new currency. It really is.
Yes. I'm going to skip. Yes to everything that is said. The psychological thing behind it. When people are interviewing you, especially if it's a virtual interview, that recruiter is most likely, or hiring manager, is doing something else, right? So you have 35 to 45 seconds to catch my attention. All right. So if you're not telling me the situation, telling me the task, telling me the action, and then the result, I'm going to be lost. I don't care about sometimes, especially the more analytical people, they think that they need to give the full backstory for the context. You're losing me there. Okay. And a good way to make sure you're not doing this is every 35 seconds, stop and say, hey, is this a little bit, is this deep enough in explanation, or would you like me to keep it at a high level? Now that does two things. That does two things. Number one, it makes sure that because sometimes interviewers are people. Some people want you to go deeper and some people want you to be at a high level, right? But this way you put the onus on them to give you that answer. That's the first thing it does, right? Let you know if you need to go deeper or keep going high. The second thing it does is, just like a kid in class, if that person is not paying attention and you check them, guess what? Boom, you're going to catch them off guard. They're still a person too. They don't like that. So just like when you were in class, if the teacher caught you off guard, guess what? You did your best not to get caught off guard again. So you're psychologically checking the person that's interviewing you so that you can make sure they're listening, because sometimes you are saying the right things, but they're just distracted. All right. Yeah. So that's my take on it. Do those two things.
Just perfect, Father. What we try to do is we try to get the interview to become a two-way conversation. Like like you mentioned, is this what you were looking for, or do you like for me to expand on that? You're engaging back the interviewer. Now you're starting to have a conversation. You're not answering a question and then they're looking at you funny and then they look down at their list. Now they're asking you another question. It's a way to engage the interviewer with you, because you could be interviewing, like somebody's interviewing with HR. They're just going to want to hear the topical stuff because they don't know what your job is. They know you're a sales rep and they know the product you sell and your customers, but that's about all. So look at your audience, but I always say, just give them the quick, you know, top of it, and then ask if they would like more expanded information. Usually say, no, that does it for me. That's great. I'm just qualifying this as we go through it. As you know, I'm in HR. So you're respecting the interviewer. But when you engage them back with, we expand more, do that, you start having a two-way conversation, and it takes a lot of stress off for both sides.
I can hear you. Sounding good.
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a call I had to answer. I couldn't miss it. So I still haven't had the time to schedule the next week's space. So give me a minute or so while I do that. I think we can still squeeze in another red flag, and then we could do last words, if that's okay. We could talk about some cringeworthy red flags that Southern Belle and yourself have noticed. Let's
Well,
let
really,
them display with some humor. Why not?
well, really, I guess the biggest ones are the ones we already discussed. With the screen shares and the different screen names. More so, people showing up in bonnets on virtual interviews, right? Or you trying to not. Oh, here we go. The biggest cringeworthy thing to me for a virtual interview is for the person to show up and not turn their camera on. That grinds my gears. It really irks me. And that I know I can't be the only recruiter, right? If you're showing up to a virtual interview, you have to have your camera on, okay? Even if the interviewer doesn't have theirs, you have yours on until they tell you it's okay, you don't need to have it on. Does anybody else, Southern Belle, how do you feel about that? What do you tell your interviewers and your candidates?
Um, I deal with salespeople. They love being in front of a camera. I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem.
Okay.
I got to tell you that the dumbest mistakes are people do not spell check their resume or their thank you notes. It absolutely boggles me, boggles the brain. Why didn't you spell check it? I get resumes with misspelled words in it. It's annoying, and I just have my admin send it back to them and say we need an updated resume with spell check. And of course, we get this, oh, I'm so sorry, because sales reps tend to be lacking of detail, and this is where we kind of get them refocused. They're oral communicators, God bless them. And I'm the same way, but I am a detail person. I'm annoying. Every book I read, I find the misspelled word, and it's like in bright flashing lights to me. I don't know why, but that's just who I am. But misspell words, please. You've got this far, and this is how you're going to start your first step. You just always check your work. Check your work.
Great points. I was a victim of that, but we listen and we don't judge. I had to get, that was a skill set I refined over the last 5 years, was attention to the detail, which is a very good soft skill that those things that Southern Bell mentioned will tip off the hat to hiring managers and recruiters. So make sure you're using specs, especially use Grammarly specifically. They have a free version. It's a great add-on tool. Use it. Utilize it. That's a form of AI that I do not care, that I do hate at all. Okay. Did anybody? Oh, Mario, go ahead. You have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Hey guys, yeah, great tips. Definitely Grammarly, 100%. The worst thing you can do in an interview. So a lot of people that are interviewing are coming off a job loss. The worst thing you can do is your brain is just thinking about this recent job loss that you had and not thinking about all the successes that you had prior to that, losing that job for whatever reason, even if you quit, right? It was probably not a great experience if you left the job or they fired you right at the end. So don't focus on that. Don't gravitate toward it. Even if the recruiter is being really friendly toward you and you feel like it's just a friendly kind of conversation, you're there to make the best presentation of you that you can. Prepare to make that best presentation of you and why you're the great fit for this particular position that you're looking for. And do not talk about all the people that were wrong or bad at your last job that you did not get along with. It happens so much more often than people would think. That's my 2 bits.
Mario, it's the first time that I interact with you. Thank you so much for those perspectives. We have about lasting impressions and how someone speaks their previous employer says a lot about them. Even if the experience wasn't pleasant, you have to always reframe that in a way to not talk down upon your previous employer or colleagues, because that says a lot about your character and ultimately your work ethic, and that won't play in your favor. So I just want to say, like, thank you for sharing those perspectives. We have a few people that I want to acknowledge in the audience. Yes, go ahead. Jonathan? Yeah.
Can you hear me, Netta?
Yes.
Yeah,
okay, perfect. Thanks a lot for sharing, Mario. Here's something as a recruiter that I've noticed, okay? And it's a little difficult subject, but I have to say it. So right now, the entire country right now, the job market sucks. People are getting laid off left and right. It's not just the bottom. It's not just the middle. It's people at the top. It's director levels. It's CEOs, CFOs, executive C-suite people, right? It's people getting laid off who've never, even if they have been laid off, they've already had another job within a week. It's people who've been laid off and now are 6 to 12 months without employment, and they're used to winning and they're no longer winning, right? So what happens is these high level professionals are coming into interviews, and just like the gentleman just stated, they forget the wins that they had, and they kind of sulk and they kind of reduce themselves down to a director or a senior manager level, and that attitude comes in there with you. You got to understand, pick it up. Remember what it took for you to get there. If you are listening and this is you, remember who you are. Look in the mirror like they discussed last week. You need to see that lion in your reflection. Remember who you are. Remember that, guess what? Companies are not loyal to anybody. So you need to be loyal to yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, how can that interviewer believe in you? Right? All of that comes across. Get your swagger back. Get your groove back. Remember who the heck you are and stand in it. Grow upon it, and don't rest on your laurels. Who cares if things were done a separate way 8 years ago? You're not going to have an assistant to do everything right now. If you're not, technically savvy enough to do all of the administrative things that need to be done, take a class. There's plenty of free things on YouTube University, Coursera, or it may not be free on Coursera, but they have plenty of courses. And even LinkedIn University has a lot of free courses. Get back to the basics, sharpen your skills, sharpen your tools, and remember who you are.
Well said. And sorry. Next week's space is scheduled. So once again, to our audience who is here, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate you. The next week's space is going to be about. Sorry, I posted the wrong one. I'll share the post in a moment, but next week's space will be about the elevator pitch. Tell me about yourself. Come up and practice your elevator pitch. This one is really going to be engaging and interactive. We're going to do last words. So Justin, myself, Jessica, and Southern Belle, less than 1 minute each, because I do have a hard stop in exactly 5 minutes. Thank you.
All right. Well, again, guys, thank you, everybody. Thank you to my great co-hosts, both Netta and Jessica, and our honorary co-host, Southern Belle. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everybody who joined today. What I will leave you with this is, as I always say, if God is for you, who could be against you? So when things go wrong, make sure you look towards the past of the things that God has already done for you. That is where your joy lies. The enemy can't steal your joy. You're stealing your joy. So make sure you remember who you serve. Remember what he's done for you already. Pick your head up, put one foot in front of the other, have faith, and watch things happen. Thank you, guys. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Hope to see you in the Hunt space next after following this event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin. Jessica, last words, less than 1 minute, please.
Of course. Thank you so much, Netta and the Job Father, everyone being here. I pray that you enjoy the career files from Unfeathered. I just wanted really quickly, I wanted to say that this has been an amazing experience listening in and reflecting on my past experiences with interviewing, and so this has been very insightful and I've taken notes. I am excited to go into the hunt and listen to the hunt, but I pray that y'all have had a fantastic time here and that you've taken notes and that you're ready to implement and go forward and get the job that you are looking for. So all praises. Thank you, Justin. That was fantastic closeout. Yeah, thank you, Netta. Again, y'all have a great Saturday.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna have Southern Belle and King Boo Boo, and then I'll do my last words. I think we're gonna end a little bit later, but it's okay. So Southern Belle, less than 1 minute, please. Thank you.
Basically, just one tip that will help you, but also keep you prepared. Always be looking, not in the terms of out there actively, but look at what the job market's doing. And every 3 months, update your resume because you've done something you can quantify or be specific about, or an accomplishment. If you get in the habit of doing that, so if your position is let go, you're already networking, reaching out to people, just reply to comments, because LinkedIn is a great place just to make comments on. Follow people in an industry that could lead to opportunities. You always need to stay engaged in networking. And if you're on your resume every 3 months, you're seeing your growth and you're looking to push a little harder to increase your growth. It's kind of a great way to self-motivate, but it also keeps updated. You're not scrambling. All of a sudden, position got eliminated and you feel like you're starting from scratch. Start from the middle and it'll be less stressful. Thank you. And again, thank you so much for letting me be on the Space Netta and Job Father. I learned from you guys because we're crossing over into AI and tech within our medical industry. So I'm learning so much from all y'all. So thank you so much.
God bless you. Thank you very much. All right, appreciate you. Thank you for your perspective. Okay, let's hear from King Boo. How are you? Thank you for being here.
I'm sorry I'm late. I had a meeting. It was amazing hearing a lot of voices here. I'll catch the next one, and I'm not going to run it late for you. I know you're in a rush.
Thank you, but I still wanted to give you a mic. If you have anything to share, I really don't mind extending by a minute or two for you. You're totally worth it. Go ahead.
Yeah, hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm CEO and founder of like Glitchcraft Studio. It's the first gaming studio out here in the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. And yeah, we're cooking up a few new things for the future, but I'm not going to say a lot right now. I know there's a lot of people here talking about a lot of things. Next time I'll try to join early, respectively, and contribute.
Well, we need to connect. Thank you so much. I did not know that you had a gaming studio. I know where you live, but I will connect with you in the DM. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. Once again, if you're not in part of the Unfeathered community, check the community in my spotlight or the one at the top right, join. We have this space, Justin and I and our co-host Jessica, every Saturday. The next one we talked about it is going to be about practicing your elevator pitch. The next space that I'll be hosting will be with Sean Charles, and it's getting your next job in tech. So if you have any questions around your job search, you need to find and you need a community. That is the best place to be. So come up, ask your questions. This is immediately after this one. Tomorrow, Justin and I will be doing our live stream, and that is how recruiters will view your LinkedIn. So we'll be having that live stream on X, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. So all that information will always be found, anything that I host or co-host, live streams included, will be included in my pinned tweets, because I get people asking me questions like that. I always make sure it's pinned, either here or in the Unfeathered community. We also have a Luma page at Unfeathered, which I'll be dropping a link to it as well. So anyone, you can sign up to our events on Luma, our calendar, and you will be notified whenever we have a live stream or whenever we have a space on X. So I'll drop that one after the space ends, because I have to wrap up for the hunt. But I want to say thank you, everybody, for your time today. We hope that you got some value, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you again for your time, everyone. Have yourselves a beautiful Saturday. Bye for now.